Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to Zimmy's Bookshop. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and stopping by to learn about Talk to Your Boys by Joanna Schroeder. Congratulations on the release. She's in conversation tonight with Jordan Reid as well, so I'll do a bio on both of them and then kick it off. So Joanna Schroeder is a writer, editor, and media critic who is known for her bold voice and unique perspectives on parenting issues. She currently serves as managing editor of Your Tango Experts program, where she works daily with psychologists, child development experts, life coaches, and parenting consultants. She's been published in the New York Times, Redbook, Good Housekeeping, Esquire, the Boston Globe. You may have heard of these, and has appeared on TV and radio shows like Red Table Talks with Jada Pinkett Smith. Schroeder is also the co-author of instructional publication Empowering Young Minds, a conversation guide for interrupting extremist influence, published in partnership with the Western State Center, a not-for-profit organization, and she's the mother of two teenage sons and a young daughter. Jordan Reid grew up as a working actress in New York City and studied cognitive neuroscience at Harvard. What a smarty. And went on to create the enormously popular lifestyle site Ramshackle Glam, where she wrote daily for nearly 500,000 readers and spearheaded national campaigns for dozens of international brands. She lives in Malibu and is currently working on her next book, an insider expose on the rise of influencer culture and the emotional cost of participation in a system that turns women into brands, motherhood into product, and vulnerability into currency.
It's just a short
title. Two very impressive people tonight. It'll be about a 30-minute conversation between the two of them. We'll open it up to a Q&A, and then we have plenty of books to buy and sign. So enjoy.
So thank you so much for coming. Good evening. I know many of you here. It's very exciting to be celebrating the release of this incredible book that's not just great and a great read, but truly essential, because I think we all know that we are at a bit of an inflection point for young men and boys. And this conversation is more relevant now than ever. I mean, the discourse online, political events that are going on, and I'm the parent of a teenage boy, as are you. And so it's a very scary moment, and I'm really glad that you can speak to this. So my first question for you, Joanna, is what happened? And is this new? Like, has this always been the case, or is there something going on right now in this cultural moment?
Well, as you know, it's funny to talk formally because I know 99.9% of you guys quite personally. As you know, there's something very alluring for boys about the internet. Mm-hmm. They are able to be who they want to be. They are able to be emotional. They're able to tell the truth. They're able to have a new persona in a way that the outside world doesn't allow. So that, going all the way back to AOL Messenger, when a kid could have a username and go on and start typing, to now when they can disappear into video games and have a whole world, right, that is changing them. And in some ways it's changing them for the better. You know, you hear about people our age who met on AIM and they were able to be themselves and they fell in love and they hadn't even met. But it also allows them to live without any accountability when they're online.
Yes.
And any adolescent without accountability is in danger in some ways. It's not a good time to be without structure and protection from people who care about you. And I think there was a long time when kids were online a lot, when parents didn't know the risks of that. So I think that's contributed to it hugely. And then we also have a case where the boys who are now my boys' age, 17, 20, all the way up to 25 and 30, masculinity changed.
Right.
Men were changing. My husband changed 1 million diapers, but my dad never changed one diaper. My husband took time off when our babies were born. He was lucky enough to do that. My father couldn't conceive of that, you know? And so masculinity changed. And a lot of these boys are growing up without a man who reflected what you need to be now in order to be a successful guy.
Like, what does it mean to be a man now?
Yeah. So like they grew up with a man that was from literally another century, mm-hmm, like us.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
Yeah. We are from another century. And that type of masculinity was not going to work for them in
Right.
today's society, even if they were the captain of the football team. A different thing was expected, and I think they just got lost. And then, of course, we started empowering girls more, which is amazing. We love girl power, but it was like we all assumed they'd be fine.
Totally.
Just, of course, they'll be
Totally.
fine.
And the rhetoric, especially like when the Me Too movement started happening, it felt so exciting.
Mhm.
And
It was Yes.
exciting. It continues to be exciting, but they have been with these younger boys. They don't have any breadth of experience. They didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And I do remember my son saying, am I bad because I'm a boy? And that's, it's wild because he does hear, me ranting and raving about, the male dominated culture. So how do you feel like this intersects with a feminist ideology? Because to me, it's very, very, very central to feminism.
Yep.
But not everybody thinks that.
Yeah. When I started writing about issues facing men and boys in 2011 or 2012, people were like, what's wrong with them? Like, boys and men don't have any problems. And I was like, you're not listening. And to the point where like the feminists who were supposed to be my peers actively were pushing against me saying, stop talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is like taking attention away from girls. I think now it's pretty well understood that like, it's not a pie. Like we can talk about boys and we can talk about girls. And in fact, when we're helping boys become healthier overall, we're helping girls have partners and siblings and best friends that are healthier. They're going to be more present in their marriages, more present with their kids, more present in their, less dangerous in society. It all goes together. And like we wrote in the book, we don't say the term toxic masculinity in this book, like, except to say that we don't say it. Because
why is that?
Well, so what happens when you've got an adolescent brain that is not wired for nuance, right? Mm-hmm. It's wired for like, go out in the woods and hunt something. And like, we're still our brains are still a little bit like cave people. Mm-hmm. And so they're not wired to go, let me zoom out on this cultural phenomenon and understand all of the different nuances. It's like, they're like, masculinity, that's me. I'm a boy.
Right.
Toxic, that's bad. Boys are bad. Mm-hmm. My mom thinks boys are bad. All the girls at my school think boys are bad. I'm hearing it on the news. I feel shame for nothing. And as we know, shame in young people often turns to rage. Shame in old people too. It's just a natural evolution of the feeling of shame. So no, it's we can talk about toxic masculinity in academia. You and I could talk about it over coffee. Mm-hmm. But when we're talking to kids, it's just too confusing. Huh. And we don't want to take any gender and say they're all bad.
No.
Yeah.
And yet
certainly not with kids. Are you kidding me?
No, of course. I was just reading an article this morning on Slate, and it was like the boys are saying, what is feminism doing to protect me? I need protection too. And in general, we dismiss this feeling. Protect you after what you've spent centuries doing to us. Protect yourself, asshole. And that's what the author was arguing against that. But
but that was the message for a long time.
That was the message.
You don't matter. You don't matter.
Like, and you already took over, but they didn't.
They did not. They were babies. Yeah.
Babies.
And there's another big thing that happens. Like, we have to remember that for generations of men, showing a soft emotional side was literally dangerous for their lives. Like, if you cried and you're a 10-year-old boy, your dad probably had an obligation to backhand you or just tell you to shut up. Mm-hmm. That was because it was dangerous. So like, when we talk about generational trauma, there's generational trauma from men trying to protect their sons from seeming effeminate, seeming weak, to help them survive. Now they don't need to do that. Now, imagine this, like, change in the world.
Has it changed?
Well, it's changed for our boys. Like,
I feel that, but I also worry that we're in this enclave of sort of, it's not,
we're in
LA. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's a little bit, a lot different. Yeah. And I just, do you actually think it's changing in the broader sense of the world.
I do think it's changing. I think it's not changing fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
But like we were watching something. What were we watching? I can't remember. But there was a very typical portrayal of a bully and a bullied kid, like the kind from when we were young, like from the Christmas Story, the movie The Christmas Story, and or like Biff from Back to the Future. Okay, these were our bullies,
Right.
And it would never, ever, ever be allowed to happen now. It maybe in like backwoods Arkansas, no offense, Arkansas, but
No, they
in
stop
general-
bullying in the schools now.
Yeah, they stop bullying when it's like that. When it's
it's like
one
that,
kid who's
yeah.
puny getting picked on by all the football players. It's an amazing revolution. The bullying is just much more insidious now. It's like identity based, and it's much more complicated and harder to address in some ways. But like in general, if you just think of, we were tracking for a while how many men were doing childcare or housework in ads on TV in 2010 to 2014. Like there was a project, we were tracking it through the Good Men Project where I used to work. And it was like, wow, there's 4 ads on TV this year where men were doing childcare and housework.
Right.
Like what a revelation, right?
Wow.
Is that locked? Is that door locked?
But
Or
do you
no?
see
Sorry.
the derision with which I am like, oh yay, men,
Right.
and that's also a problem.
That
That's
tone
also,
does
the
not
tone
help.
doesn't help. I
We're
know.
among friends here, so we can have that tone. But that tone doesn't help
No.
because, in at that time there were 4 when
Mhm.
there had been 0,
Uh-huh.
and now any ad you watch, there's one with a woman doing laundry, and then maybe the next one has a man.
Mhm.
That's changing, and so it's no longer this, a pure expectation of that. But we're in a shift because, like I said, the dads are still Generation X and elder millennials who
Yes.
were raised with that prescriptive thing.
Yeah, I do not envy the dads of this era because I feel like there's
That's you.
like it's you. Like how do you know what to do? How do you know how to parent? So I wanted to ask you about I think probably top of mind for everyone who's the parent of a young boy is tech. And I was just with the recent events with Charlie Kirk, my son, the week before this happened, he brought up Charlie Kirk to me.
Right.
And I don't follow him, so I don't
Right.
know. And that wasn't something that I would have had any idea.
Yeah, because
that
it seems so like about politics.
I'm like, my son's watching what?
yeah,
And this happened several years ago with Andrew Tate videos where
Yeah.
he was being exposed to things that I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
And how we have a, working dialogue around the topic, but what do we do?
So the most important thing that we've learned,
Mhm.
and I started working on this in 2018, as you know, when I figured out that there were all these white supremacists that were actually actively looking for young lost white boys online
Yes.
to indoctrinate, which sounded crazy at the
Yeah.
time, and now it's so mainstream,
Mhm.
right? My big thing is this. Anytime that we say to a kid, that's bad, you shouldn't do it,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
they're going to be like, let's go do it.
Do it.
So
yeah.
if, for instance, let's say that your son came to you 2 weeks ago before Charlie Kirk was dead, and I'm going to leave politics entirely out of it, but said to you,
I know I have a big note here. Don't do it. Skip that part.
And said to you, Mom, this is what I heard Charlie Kirk said online, and it was horrible. Let's just say it was like totally against your values, right?
Sure.
You and I both might have the same reaction to be like, who's this piece of shit, fucking racist? Like, we're both fiery and we stand up for ourselves. So that instinct is so strong in us that to be like, River, why would you even think that that's okay?
That's what I did when I
Right.
saw he was,
It's
when
hard
he
not to.
said, Greta Thunberg came up in conversation. He goes, oh, I hate her. And I was like, her? and he was like, and he was in
Right.
5th grade. He doesn't have any
doesn't
idea.
know, I
Someone
know.
said that. But the anger on my face
It's so
scared
hard
him.
not to.
Oh, it didn't, but he was just like, oh,
He
I
was
did
like,
something
didn't
really
realize.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. He
He
just
didn't.
heard a thing.
I
So
know.
that's the whole thing.
Mhm.
Ultimately, is it's like we got to take a beat and be like, let's talk about Greta Thunberg. What have you heard and what do you think? Or let's talk about Andrew Tate. Like the reactions that parents have to Andrew Tate are so oversized, even though of course
Yeah.
we don't like him.
Right.
But I think we automatically think, well, now my child's going to do murder. Like he's going to prison. He's been indoctrinated. In reality, it's like the most important question is, tell me what's interesting about Andrew Tate. Tell me what's interesting about, what did Charlie Kirk do that was so interesting that you saw?
What did you find compelling about that argument?
Yeah.
And a compelling point does not necessarily translate to a overarchingly positive worldview that we want to follow.
No, that's okay. But the reality is, the other thing that we have to realize as parents, what we might not know is everyone has a different reality in their timelines.
Mhm.
So when Charlie Kirk was shot, and I'm only using this because it's a great example, Sabrina from our company and I were texting, and I was like, he's like, why would anyone want to, he's so like dumb. He loses every debate he's in. And she's like, he wins every debate he's in.
Right.
And I was like, what? And then I realized her timeline was showing his
Yes, ma'am.
his victories. My timeline was showing him losing. I had no idea any reality about him.
Same.
Yes.
I looked at my son's For You page and I was like, oh my God, he wins every day. Yes, exactly.
They're
the
seeing
same
a different
Mhm.
thing. And so when I'm like, what's wrong with my son that he likes this guy? Well, actually, he's seeing a guy who's really good at debate, who's
Mhm.
really open-minded,
Mhm.
who brings people on stage and talks about things they're not supposed to talk about. Adolescents love to talk about things they're not supposed to talk about. So this dude's he's living the dream to these boys. And
Of
so then
course.
it becomes, I love that you like this guy that is bringing people together to talk. Here's what I've learned about him that I'm uncomfortable with. Okay. Like this, he says that, whatever it is. And this makes me think, like, what if you had a friend that, you bring empathy to it? He's saying this about Black people. What if you imagine your friend who's Black hears that, how is he going to feel? Bringing empathy into it then, so that your kid doesn't feel like crap.
Yeah.
For having bought into
Shame
it.
for having
Social media
I'm wrong, I'm dumb.
showed him the best parts. Who can blame him?
So if I can just so you're basically saying, and I think this is what I believe too, we can't stop them from seeing. There's no amazing solution where we get to just like turn all of this off.
They're going to see it.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I believe with video games, which is a big thing, if you have kids that are boys or girls that like video games, it's like the moment that your hackles go, I could hear that Fortnite sound in my house, and I'd be like, I'm sure my husband.
My
feels
son
the same
plays
way.
a game where he reaches into somebody's mouth and pulls out their intestines and then stabs them with an axe.
Right. Yes, that's great. Sounds fun. This is the thing. Cara writes about it so well in Decoding Boys, if anyone needs another book about boys. The reality is playing a video game is not going to make your kid into a murderer.
Right.
Playing too many video games has been shown to desensitize them to violence. So they're so used to seeing bodies and blood and death and whatever, that then they see a portrait of a war zone or something, and they might be like, oh, I'm familiar with that. That's just, it's desensitized, right?
I've been thinking about my son's about to turn 14. There's September 11th documentaries and World War II documentaries that I want to show him, and I'm like, that's so painful, but he'll be fine. Like he can watch that in a way that my daughter can't.
Oh yeah,
because she would have a very different reaction. So
and then that's a conversation too. Like I'm a big fan of just having the conversation. Like if I had seen this from 9/11 when someone was falling out of this building, and when I did see it, I was so upset. This might be different for you because of video games, but I want to underline that this was somebody's son,
right,
or someone's daughter and someone's husband or wife. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I don't want you to feel crappy, but it can be so easy for us. And the other thing is I like you using us language. You kids who play video games are desensitized, but like it can be so easy for us with the media that we consume to be desensitized to something like that. But it's part of history. and it was an enormous time when we were all grieving or whatever.
Sure.
Like, I don't like the thing where it's like you guys and your generation. It's more like this is what we're doing right now with the media we have.
So how do we know how, there's the trope that boys don't talk and boys don't
Right.
share their emotions, and kinda,
Yeah.
a little bit. How do we know when to pull the alarm?
We have like a very long, comprehensive quote in here from an adolescent psychologist and addiction specialist. That is the better one. But basically, when their lives are really disrupted, and this is boys, girls, you and me, that when the things that brought them joy are no longer in their lives and they haven't been replaced with something. So they loved baseball. They're not going to love baseball forever. Maybe then they do like video games and it brings them joy and they're using it in a moderate way. Or maybe they used to hang out with all these one little kids. Now they have one best friend who's like a golf or something, like a totally different thing. It's that loss of a source of joy without replacing it with something else that's fulfilling to them. Right. And then things like when they're not changing their clothes the way they did and they smell bad and they don't care.
Oh dear. That's a red flag.
Part of that is adolescence, but your son's probably in the phase of all extra showers and lots of cologne. Not yet?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So that's normal too.
It's
It
great,
goes from
actually.
smells
It
like
just
a little
happened. I was
kid
like, oh.
to smells horrible.
Yeah.
To smells very perfumed, and then they even out, right?
How did you know?
I know.
It's almost like you wrote a book about
I've been
this.
there. Yeah. So, but like the same hoodie for 2 weeks, or
Sure.
we know what it looks like to be depressed, most of us, and and then you just talk to the doctor. And then I have one of my favorite tools that we have in here is a great way to get through to a boy, even a very traditional boy from a very traditional family, is if he's having a hard time, you say, if something's wrong with the sink and I don't know how to fix it, I call the plumber, because the plumber is a specialist in plumbing. If something's going on with your feelings and it's too big of a problem for you and I to handle, we go to a therapist or go to the rabbi or go to your pastor or whoever. School counselors are amazing, absolutely
underutilized,
utilized, incredible. We go to them because that's what they did. They studied that. And they know our brains and our bodies the way a plumber knows the pipes. And it's so obvious when you say it like that. But then the kid is like, oh, it's not just crazy people. Like this isn't, like this is a specialist in this thing, just like a plumber.
And there's no shame.
No.
There's just no shame.
And also a lot of people go to therapy that never talk about it. So you might think it's just crazy people or depressed people, but that's because those are the ones that are talking about it more.
Right.
So
fascinating. It's like this dichotomy between they don't share their feelings, but they need extra sort of encouragement to do that.
The other thing is
starting from, I guess, a young age and talking to them about that.
Well, that's one of my favorite tools also is that, and we can all be doing this no matter who our kids are, is when you're feeling a big feeling, name it and explain how you're going to handle it. So like for me, it's road rage. And it's a great time to talk to the kids about, oh my God, that guy just cut me off. I'm so pissed right now. I'm so tempted to flip this guy the bird. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take a breath because I know it's not going to get me anywhere. I'm not going to flip him the bird. He can go that way. Okay, I feel better. You just taught your kid how to feel a big thing.
Goodness, I actually taught my kid the other day. I was like,
then
he's like,
I've done it. We have a famous story about when Bowden was little in the car with Ian, and he may have heard somebody using road rage, and a guy drove by and cut him off, and Ian said, "What the heck?" And Bowden said, "Shove it up my ass."
No, actually, what I was talking about when we did this, actually, the driver's like, "Oh, hey," and it was fun, and we had a little moment of connection.
But in reality, we all have road rage. We live in LA. It's a great example. It's a great time to just you're going to process your emotions, and it's so you don't have to be like, children gather around while I talk about my feelings, right? It's like,
don't put that pressure on them.
I'm so pissed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take a breath. Let's put on a song. Let's listen to our favorite song. Let's put Jam to Benson Boone. Let's just chill out for a minute.
So to that end, a lot of our boys grew up or I mean, in our generation, grew
Yeah.
up being told punch a pillow,
Yeah.
go to the gym, get out your aggression.
Yeah.
If you're really mad, what does that look like given in the context of what we know
Mhm.
now?
Well, it's really interesting because recent research has shown that not everybody feels better after punching a pillow. So this was the advice when my brother was angry. My mom actually had someone hang up a punching bag in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good for him, I think, because it was a lot of cardio and a lot of
Right.
physical activity and just a thing to do when he was upset.
Endorphins and all that.
But
yes.
like they did this thing where for some kids, especially adolescents, going and punching something can actually make the anger and the rage worse. It's
Really?
like reinforcing to the body and the brain. Yes, I'm angry. I'm doing
Really?
angry. Like we know when we're having anxiety, we have to do relaxed things so our bodies know we're relaxed, right? Our body's going to teach our brain to be chill. For some people, punching a pillow or going out and kicking the soccer ball really, really, really hard in an angry way is just reinforcing I'm angry. And then for that kid, if it seems like that's what's happening, it might be better to put on a song that he loves or just be like, let's go watch a movie or let's go watch your favorite show or like, let's watch Transformers for the 8 billionth time or whatever he likes. Get him to calm down.
Yeah.
And then you can be like, what were you feeling right then? Because you were angry and I understand, but like, what was that like? And then have him talk about that.
For younger kids, my daughter, she created a calm box.
Oh.
And it's literally a box that's decorated. And she just put in things that make her feel calm.
Oh,
I know.
I love
Isn't that lovely?
I need a calm box.
I know. It's got like a squishy, like
Love
nice smelling things.
Squishies. Oh.
Let me check the time. I don't want to. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So let me ask you one last question.
Okay.
So this book is really challenging longstanding cultural assumptions about masculinity and what it means to be a man. So it's a very big topic. If I could ask you, what is one thing 5 years from now, if you could say, I hope that this shifts, let's go 5 years into the future. What is something that you think?
Oh my God, that's such a good question.
I know it's a big one. It's a big one.
It's very big, Jordan.
I know, I'm sorry. But you can also pick a lane, like in media, in education, in
I'll tell you what I'd
public
like
policy.
I would like it to be safe for boys and men to talk about their feelings with their friends. That would be my dream, or their brothers, or their fathers, or their mothers, whoever. What's happening right now with so many women who are in relationships with men or girls that are having boyfriends in high school and middle school is the only place they have to really let it out is with their girlfriends or their wives.
Yeah.
So your guy comes home and it is every feeling he had all day long, plus his childhood trauma, plus what his grandpa did, plus, like it's all because
right there.
there's nowhere else to put it. And it's an enormous burden. Whereas I might call you and be like, Jordan, I'm so pissed. And then by the time Yvonne gets home, I only have a few words that I have to share with him. You know what I mean?
Do you know that my son asked me, he said he heard me, talking to my friend about feelings. And I was like sobbing and I came out, I was like, I'm fine. I'm just like having feelings. And he was like, so you call your friends and you guys just cry? Why? And I was like, oh,
yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Why?
Yeah. And what I keep hearing is happening is that we get these boys who are finally able to talk to somebody when they get their girlfriend at 14 or 16 or whatever. And then those relationships are not likely to last.
Right.
But then that boy's not just losing his girlfriend, he's losing his only source of emotional support.
Yep.
And that's when we start seeing these suicide threats. And then all of a sudden you've got that's not okay for the girl. It's all unhealthy. So I would love to have boys feel okay just calling their bros. Just call your bro. Have a little conversation. Jamie laughed.
You don't even have to tell anybody else.
I feel like Josh is good at that.
Well, there is just this viral thing where they show grown men calling their bros at night.
I saw that. And they're like, hey, just say goodnight.
Good night. Yes.
Like,
and the men think and almost universally, their friends think they're dying. Their friends are like, bro, I'm coming over. Because they're like, why are you saying I love you? You're clearly about to die. And that says so much, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It
It
really
really does. It's
does.
wild.
Yeah,
It's
and like my
wild.
friend Blue was telling me, since his dad died, he's like, I don't have anyone to call on the phone. I just have my wife. I talk to my dad every day. Now I call Cassidy. She's really busy.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know who to call.
And as women, we do, lucky us, have these resources.
And I'll tell you, I had an instinct to be like, you can call me, Blue. And then I was like, no, I can't. That's not my husband. That is someone else's husband. Like, I just wanted to be like, it would be weird if Blue was calling me just to talk about his feet.
I don't know.
Ian
Okay,
can
well.
call me. I don't know. It might be weird if it was Cassidy's random husband. But that would be a dream for me.
Yeah.
That like River and his friends and Bowden and his friends could call each other and just be like,
yes,
things are so hard right now.
Yes.
My girlfriend dumped me, or I don't know what to do with my whatever.
Yes. Joanna, thank you so much for not just being here tonight, but creating this book that is not, like I said, it's really a fun read, actually. Look, it's
I was going to read you guys
readable.
a couple quotes from our boys, because we had 80 boys ages 10 to 22 that we interviewed, and they are wild children. Tell me a couple of the quotes that I'll tell you first, because
really surprised you.
I think every time I hear from anyone who's read it is they're like, the quotes from the boys were my favorite part. So they are self-selecting. So there's not a lot of boys that aren't thinking deeply. Not every boy is going to think deeply. That's okay. Not every boy
is going to agree to an interview
with you.
Right,
exactly. I have one son who would do that. I have one that would be like, why would I ever do that? So, if your boy is not thinking these things, please know that's normal. So this is an 18-year-old who said, I keep a lot of feelings to myself because I don't really know how to talk about it. I don't really even know how to express it besides destroying stuff. I worry that one day I'll fully lose it and do something I'll really regret. My dad goes by the idea that men don't cry, and that's heavily affected me. I wish adults would support their children through hard times and help them express their feelings. The 18-year-old said like really beautiful things like that. And some of them were really funny. The younger kids love to tell us that their parents need to give them more video game time. Yeah. This is one of my favorites. We asked the boys, what could your parents do differently that would make you more likely to talk openly with them? And James said, he was 21 when he said this, it would be good if maybe they were more open about their struggles and hardships at any age. Without that, there's a kind of a family myth, as my therapist calls it, about how my parents made it to where they are. If they open up about their struggles, it might make it easier for me to open up and feel better about myself. Isn't that so sweet? Some of them are funny, though. I promise they're not all serious. Did you read
Beautiful Boy?
No.
Beautiful Boy. It's a memoir of.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we share if we have done drugs?
Oh.
Do we share our struggles, or is that putting the idea in their head that that's fine and we survived? So
you know what? I don't even necessarily feel qualified to answer that. Can I ask Cara? Sorry, Cara's a pediatrician. What do you think is the best way to handle that?
Never lie. Once they figure out you've lied, you've lost them.
Yes.
So figure out what you're comfortable sharing that's honest.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it has to be a full disclosure, but they will 100% ask you about sex and drugs. So you should probably
be prepared.
Plan your
but
answer.
You can say, here's what I'm comfortable sharing now.
That's correct.
When you're older, we'll talk more. But yeah.
And let them infer how wild you really were. Not us.
No. All right. So I guess let's open it up for a few questions.
Yes.
If anyone has anything that they want to ask.
I also want to add that one good thing, and I wanted to get this in quickly, was that some kids do really well expressing their feelings through writing. And that's why I love Jordan's workbooks, because sometimes having a little kid to work through it with you, or you give them one of the anxiety workbooks if they're having anxiety, sometimes they need to just write or doodle or move. They're obsessing on something, move that part of the brain, move it out of that obsessive part of the brain and write it down in a journal, in your notes app. Yeah. Getting an activity book where you can also doodle or word search or whatever is really helpful. It was actually writing this. I would give my kids early editions and be like, and the conversation, not in I wrote such a good book, but the conversations that it opened up just dropped my jaw.
it gave them tools like is my personal fire alarm going off? Like, what color do I feel like?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things that
And with
it makes a
boys,
huge difference.
yeah, we talk about it in the book with boys. Terry Real, who's like a specialist in male depression at the time when he wrote the book, was basically like a lot of men, you say, how do you feel? They'll be like, bad, fine, nothing.
Right.
And so he'd say, what do you feel in your body? Do you feel anything in your neck?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel anything in your chest? And then they'll be like, yeah, my neck feels really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your neck feels hot, your neck feels tight. Sometimes for me, that means that I'm sad. You know, sometimes I feel that right before I cry, or like, oh, your chest feels tight. That might be stress. So like identifying the body parts can be really helpful too, because a lot of them are just not trained to.
No,
And
I wasn't
some of us
trained
also,
until like
yeah.
5 years ago when I finally did therapy. I was like, oh, well, that helped.
Okay, does anybody have questions? Emily does.
Hi. So like in a society where in part it feels like there is success awarded to people that appear, like very composed and it's all milestones and goals and tasks. How do you balance that with, what is your take on the reality?
Yep.
And instead of breezing over reality, like just maintaining and staying like that.
There's a great exercise by this guy, Ashanti Branch, who develops and runs boys programs, and it's about the mask. So the basic idea is we're all wearing masks. We're all wearing masks in here right now because like you can't just come in here and unload all your stuff. And we know that when I go home and Yvonne's on the couch and I get to just sit next to him and relax, then all the feelings come out. But if I'm in here and I'm talking to the booksellers about ordering books, that's a mask. And we all have them and they're not unhealthy. They're healthy. You would need to have your mask. You go out into the football locker room. You can tell I know a lot about sports. Go out into the football locker room where the footballs are. And you have to have a mask of toughness on.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
When you go to work, you're not blubbering at every little thing that goes wrong. That's okay. And that's the skill to teach our boys. Here's one mask for home. Here's one mask for this friend. Here's one mask for this friend. Here's one mask at work. These are skills, and it's just as important a lesson as anything else, right? But you can't have that one mask on all the time. If you surround yourself with people who you have your thickest, most opaque mask on, then you're never gonna be able to let it out. Is that helpful?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Tom?
This is RIP Robert Redford.
Okay.
But who are some really good role models who are actually cool to push my teen nephews to?
That's a fantastic question.
That's a fantastic question.
Actually cool.
Yeah,
Keanu Reeves.
actually cool. Because I know so many masculinity nerds that I don't know if teenagers would think they were cool.
I know. I'm like, Keanu Reeves, right? And they're like,
Keanu Reeves is great, but
He's
they're
great,
like,
but
you
the
that
who?
grandpa.
Tom
right?
Holland. Tom Holland has
yeah,
some really
Tom Holland's
beautiful
great
things
about
to
that.
say
Oh my
about
God,
like
Tom, I wish I
consent
had
and
this
like
question ahead of time
taking
because
care of women.
I know there are some, and I've had it in my head. I'll tell you what. I one time Googled for your Tango article I was editing, like famous men who use meditation. And I was like, oh my God, there's all these really famous men that meditate. And then I was like, famous men that go to therapy. I feel like I would just Google that, like men who talk about emotions. I mean,
Alan
there's
Watts,
a lot of them
like
now.
my 13-year-old's not going to read Alan Watts, but like maybe in a couple of years he will.
Yeah.
I find that him like tremendously.
Well, Tom, you and I
encouraging.
both listen to the Blocks podcast religiously. That's Neil Brennan. He's a comedian. He has other comedians or performers on, and they literally go there just to talk about the things that hurt their feelings and their emotional blocks against stuff. And I have played sections of that for my boys before, and generally all the people on it are pretty cool, I think.
There's also a really beautiful thing happening online. I keep seeing these young songwriters. I posted a couple of them. I don't know if you saw it. And it's these young men who have created songs and are talented.
Yeah.
And
Dane's
they're creating songs about like gun violence and about how they feel. And I just every time I see one, I just shoot it off to my son. I'm like,
Oh,
this.
Yeah.
Express your
You
feelings
pray
that way.
he opens on. Isaac said,
Yeah. I said,
yeah.
did you open it? He said,
no.
yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. Isaac admitted on camera when we were doing an interview, I don't look at your videos you send me because you send me 25 a day. That's what Isaac said.
My children ask me if I write about parenting.
Yeah. So now
My
I'll
daughter,
send
she's
it
like,
to-
you should write about parenting.
You're like, okay, welcome to
You care zero.
2001.
I do.
But that's normal. You don't want them to worry about it, right? But like, yeah, I do text my kids and I'll be like, watch the Instagram I sent you 1 minute ago. Otherwise they won't do it. But yeah, I still think it means something to them. Mom's thinking of me, especially
Oh,
when
yeah.
you can't just send them alarmist stuff. You also have to send them snakes and toads and lizards and stuff
Oh,
that
I
they
love
like
that.
if that's their thing.
I love
You
that.
know? Okay, bye, Cara. Does anybody else have questions? Hopefully not for a pediatrician because she just left. Okay, Jamie.
So it's a little early. I have a 7-year-old, as you know, and she's already asking, Mom, when can I have a phone?
Okay.
And what I have heard, I like just around is wait until 8.
I like wait till 8th personally, yeah.
8th
But
grade or
8th
8th?
grade.
Whoops.
But here's the thing, there are major exceptions to that. Your kids go between households.
Yes,
They need a phone.
they do.
And if you
For,
want to,
for safety and security. And
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, there are exceptions. It's
Absolutely.
an individual.
Yeah. There are phones for that too, and they can get a watch. But also, you know your kid. So my thing. So Jonathan Haidt right now is so famous for saying they shouldn't have social media ever until they're 16. Yeah, the anxious generation,
Mhm.
and I just disagree. And I disagree because our kids, when they're young, every year we have influence over them. So when they're 2, everything we say is the gospel truth. When they're 10. It's mostly true. I trust Mom, but I'm going to verify. When they're 16, it's like Mom's so dumb. And so if you want them to learn a skill, you need to start early. So if you give a kid a phone at 16, they call it the age of influence. They're already almost out of the age of influence. They don't come back into it until they're like 22.
Right. They don't bring you those videos and say, what is this?
You're like,
Or
Mom, look at these naked people I saw. What's happening? And you'd rather, yes, because why would they ever show you? They're
Yes.
also worried. They're also clever enough to know that you'll take the phone away if you know they saw some horrible garbage. So ultimately, I like 8th grade for social media, but I'll tell you what I did with the boys. In 5th grade, Instagram was a big thing. And I gave them an Instagram on my phone. So it was like I could toggle between my account and their account. So can I have Instagram time? Yes, switch it to Bowden's account and I'd give it to him.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then he could use it and look through and he would know. I could see all his likes. I could see his DMs and I could do that when he wasn't on it. So one girl was DMing him at 1 a.m. all the time. And he was in like 6th or 7th grade and it was pinging on my phone, right?
Unacceptable.
So if you
my sleep.
So right. So at that point, it's like I go into Bowden and I say, this girl is texting you a lot. And I can't do anything about her texting at 1 a.m. I don't know her parents well. But I would like for you to say, hey, I'm not allowed to get DMs after 9 p.m. Whatever, like set a boundary. So he's protecting, he's learning to set a boundary. I don't know if he did. I mean, I think he did learn that. And also I can see if he's I can go through and look at his likes. And if it's something that's going to be, he doesn't understand the context. Like when one of my sons liked like a Nazi propaganda without knowing what it was. It's a famous story now. I was able to be like, I want you to understand the context of this. So I like having them have it, and depending on how mature they are. Bowden's a little brother, and the little siblings are so mature. Yeah. I liked them having it in 5th grade, so I could. And then they didn't really have it maybe they had it on a tablet. I wanted them to have the skills. I wanted them to practice. It's like you don't just give a kid a car at 16 and hope they know how to drive. Right. So yeah, I like 8th grade, but every kid's different. Like you might have one that's so mature, but you might have one that is reckless and needs to have it taken away constantly.
That's fantastic advice. Oh, love that. Let's see. Oh,
I'm a big talker. Okay.
We are
We're done talking.
Look at we're perfectly on time. This was wonderful. Let's give her like a round of applause for this wonderful book.
It's nice because it's all my fans.
Amazing.
Okay, and I will sign books even though I feel very weird about it. If anybody wants me to sign one, I will. I feel
We have
awkward.
plenty of books up front. You can purchase and then get them signed. We also have copies of Jordan's books as well.
Yes, and have Jordan. If you have a kid under like 10, this book is so
Good. Yeah, under 10, I have a one.